I'm going to make this real short and sweet for you, just so you know what I did. I told you all that I was going to go in and rewrite that thing we were working on last week, object-oriented, and as I just mentioned to John, I started to, and I got the first one to work, and then it blew up everything else. So what I did was I went back to the blog thing, and I rewrote that object-oriented. So in other words, if you look up on the screen here, same stuff we had before, but now what I do is I come in here and I create a brand new MySQL object. And you can see how the syntax is different too. You use the minus with a greater than sign. So I've got the same stuff that we had before, but what I did earlier, if you remember with the example we had, every single one of these that was in here, what we ended up doing was we ended up immediately creating the database every single time, all over again. So what I did was I created the DB Connect class, and I just, with every one of these that's in here, now the first thing that happens is we come in here and we include that. All right. So the thing is, if you run this, it really looks a lot like what we had before. Oh, that might be the problem too. I still have that still running. I forgot to stop that. But this is going to look exactly like what you saw before. In the DB Connect, I put this in there, put these messages in to make sure that it was working. So I connected to the MySQL database, and I want to show you this. I want to literally come in here, and in that my blog database. So I'm going to, I think I'm in here now. Nope. All right, show tables. So whoops, right now, from entries, I've got one entry in there, but or two of them. I'm going to just delete from entries. And you notice there's nothing at all in there. All right? So I'm going in here to run this, and after I do that, the DB Connect, so now I'm connected, so now I want to go in and I want to add an entry. Okay, this first entry, so I'll call this my first entry. And I'm going to put in here insecure. All right, and why is it insecure? Because I'm going to leave this empty where it says to put in text. All right, and notice it says you have to submit both, but it took it anyway. All right, so in other words, when I look in here now, it's in there. No, it's not. Okay, well, it was this morning when I did. All right, first entry, my first entry. The blog entry has been added. Now when I go in here and look, my first entry, there it is. All right. But where this does not shine is if I do it like this, and I'll say my second entry. Isn't this great? See, I get that error because it's insecure. It's the quote that's inside of the isn't. All right. So it gave me an error. It says could not add the entry. Now I'm going to come into here, and you'll notice it's not in there. Now notice the entry ID is 10 because I've already removed a bunch of records that were in there. All right, but now if I go back and I run the secure one, now if I come in here and say my next blog entry isn't that great, and I click post, it worked. And when I look in here, it worked, and you can see that it's got the quote in there. So those all work. All right. And real quickly, now if I come in here and I view my entries, there they both are. Okay. If I try to go right to delete, this page has been accessed in error. If I try to go right to edit, this page has been accessed in error. But if I go to view and then I try to edit this, where it says isn't that great, I'll change it to isn't that fantastic. And I'll change this from my next blog entry to my next blog entry edited, and update the entry. Blog entry's been updated. Bring it up. My next blog entry edited, isn't that fantastic? So you can see where it's changed. All right, so that worked. And I can also come in here now and I can delete, and again it asks me first, you sure you want to delete that? Yes, delete the entry, it's been deleted. I come back up in here and I'm back down to 1. Okay? And the key things to realize, the takeaways from here, I just want to show this to you, what I had to change. Anytime, again, originally when we did this, all this code that you saw in here, all this code, all this, for setting this up, etc., all that stuff, that was put into every one of these files. I don't know why he did it like that. He'd already talked about the include, but he did it like that anyway. So I did this once and included it in every file, like this. All right. This first one, so this first add, notice it's got a trim in there and it's got a strip tags. What it doesn't have that the second one has is the real escape string. And that's where it's getting screwed up on that single quote, because the first one didn't have it in there. All right, that's why it wasn't working. These two files are virtually identical to one another, the add entry and the add secure entry, except the secure one has the MySQL real escape string. And any time that I came in here and did a query, I had to change the syntax to look like this. All right, so that's the result equals my connection string minus sign greater than query, and then the actual query that I just put in. So the syntax is different. And to figure out how to do this, because I couldn't remember, it'd been a while since I looked at it, I went and basically just Googled. So I came in and said MySQL, I don't know, connect error or something like that. And yeah, that's what I mean. And I started to go into here, and I grabbed one of these, and I just looked at how they did it. I ended up literally grabbing a bunch of the code, and I didn't do it exactly the way they did it, all right, but it's very similar to the way that they did it. So they've got it both the old style, well, you got to look in here for it, but they've also got the newer style in here with the minus sign and the greater than. So I put those in there. That's in there for the add entry secure, for the view entry. Again, you'll notice how that's set up now. And like this. For the delete entry. And for the add edit entry. I got all done with this, and it didn't work, and I couldn't figure out why. And it was because I made a dumb mistake. So just to tell you that dumb mistake real quick, these originally, if you remember this last time, these were called like 07 add entry or whatever. I removed all those numbers before them, but when I was calling them inside of the actual scripts, I left the numbers in there. So as soon as I took the numbers out, they worked. So if you're interested in looking at this and seeing a little bit of object-oriented, all right, just a tad, because there's not that much in there. Again, it's under the stuff for today. All right, so it's on the P drive for this class, which is 148 RDC Fall 2014. Oops. In class, and then the folder has got today's date on it, 12/2, and it's the same stuff I just showed you. And the other thing I want to show you there is, if you notice here, I had found this site years ago and forgot all about it. You'll be able to tell it was years ago because it's old. All right, but there's a couple really good articles I put out here, and it's from a site that's called TonyMarston.net. All right, and this is using PHP objects to access your database. There's a part 1, and there's a part 2. He's also got a follow-up article to that one on Model View Controller. It's not an easy read, and notice this is 19 pages. Well, that's not bad, Jeff. It's 19 pages. Well, if you look at the next one, part 2, that's not 2 pages. Come on. That's 21 pages, and he had some other, I found another article in here, a minimalist approach to object-oriented programming with PHP. I think this is the one. That was 112 pages. So you're not going to probably sit down and read that in 5 or 10 minutes. All right. But I know that there's one in here. One of the ones that's in here was 100 and some pages. But I thought the site was pretty good. It's not a pretty site. It's not an easy to iterate through site, but it's a nice site. Again, it's called Tony Marston. No, I didn't put it on that one. That's good. TonyMarston.net. All right. Wish I'd put it on there, but I didn't. The articles are a little old. See, like I said, I wouldn't put that in there myself, but whatever. But he's got tons of stuff under his PHP. And to find this, I went over underneath here to articles, because he's got everything in here, including the ones that he has updated. So that's what that one should say there. So you'll notice it's filled. It's just got a ton of examples and stuff in it too. I thought it was pretty well done. Add that back in there. So if you're interested in that stuff, the only other thing I wanted to say, and this is not so much for Amanda's benefit, because I don't think she's taking the 163 class, although you're welcome to if you want to. But for the 163 class next semester, this is not a fun website. It's not easy to maneuver your way through it. What's that? 164, dip class. All right, this is the book that we're going to have for, there it is, that class. All right, PHP Advanced and Object-Oriented Programming Visual Quick Pro Guide. And the reason I'm showing you that is if you look, there's only about 14 chapters. But I'm going to go over the first 9. I'm going to skip the networking and the PHP and the server and the command line interface and the XML. And I'm not sure about 14 yet. I haven't read that one. But we're going to go over the first 9. And I hope to do like about a chapter a week. You're not going to have homework on it, but we're just going to go over a chapter. Then you're going to have your project to work on for the rest of the time. That's all I have to say.